Jesus once said that the devil is the father of all lies, and that he is the prince of this world. We are witnesses to the fact that there are many global lies around us. Take, for example, the fact that they say the earth is a globe, but in fact it is flat. Or that the coming of Christ has not yet come, while it already happened 1,000 years ago. And the main thing is that all the rulers of the large countries of the world know about this lie, and have conspired among themselves. Fake flights to the moon and into space. Arrange wars. Pretending to be at enmity with each other, while in fact they are secretly friends with each other, being members of a hidden brotherhood of servants of the ancient serpent, called the devil and Satan. And one of such global deceptions is the people of Israel and the promised land. I already talked about the Jews in the previous video. And now I will talk about the land of Israel. When God led the people of Israel through Moses to the promised land, he led them into a blessed land, where milk and honey flow. Numbers chapter 13 verses 18 to 28. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Go up this country southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land, whether it be good or bad, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be trees in it or no. Be of good courage, and take of the fruit of the land. Now it was about the time of the grapes. And they went up and spied out the land, and came to the valley of Eshel, and cut down from there a branch of a vine having one cluster of grapes, and carried it upon a pole 2 of them, and pomegranates and figs. And when they had spied out the land, they returned after 40 days. And they went up and came unto Moses and Aaron, and unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and brought word unto them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, and said, We went up into the land whither thou sentest us. Milk and honey truly flow in it, and here are its fruits. But what do we see in today's Palestinian, so-called Israel? This is a desert and stones, where there are no trees. Milk and honey certainly do not flow there and never did. Where there is no artificial irrigation, everything dies. The land in Palestine can in no way be called a blessed land, because it is not irrigated as it should be from God with rain, and is not suitable for sowing and pastures in most cases. And not only now. We are also shown films from the time of Moses to the time of Jesus Christ. All the same, this is a rocky land with a Palestinian relief where the sun burns everything out and the heat is strong. I remember watching the film Jesus and being surprised. After all, at that time the land of Israel was still blessed since it had not yet rejected Jesus Christ, and therefore should have been blessed in terms of rain, trees, green pastures, many fruits and everything else. But in the film Jesus saw great poverty, aridity and yellowness, which indicates that they are deliberately showing us the wrong Canaanite land, trying to mislead. In addition, this territory in Palestine is very small in itself, even within the framework of the supposed map of Solomon's time. The emergence of the Israeli state in 1948 was mainly due to Stalin's decision, and it depended on his decision whether to recognize that territory in Palestine as an Israeli state or not. And Stalin recognized it, and it was from him, in fact, because of his decision, that the state of Israel was formed in Palestine. Well, since he was a very cruel dictator and waged war against God, then I see some kind of forgery in this. If Moses had led the people of Israel to that land in Palestine, which is today called Israel, then I think they would have stoned Moses. That land is not at all what God promised the Jews. The land of Canaan was really very fertile, beautiful and, most importantly, very vast. There was even a time when they stopped conquering new territories because they were unnecessary. And the climate in Canaan is not the same as in Palestine. It is written, the snow does not melt on Carmel. There are many ancient paintings that show a completely different nature than in Palestine. The flight of Jesus to Egypt, a lot of greenery. The crucifixion of Jesus on Golgotha. A large river is visible in the back, as well as people at the crucifixion in winter hats, which is more likely to be true, since it is written that Peter was warming himself by the fire. And the animals described in the Bible were never on the territory of Palestinian Israel, as well as fossil materials. Let's take the description of the full-flowing Jordan. That the Levites had to enter the water with the ark so that the waters would part, and only in this way could the people of Israel cross the Jordan. But what do we see in today's so-called Jordan? It is a small river that can easily be forded. Very many places in the Bible that do not match the scriptures. For example, in the New Testament Jesus Christ said, looking at the temple, not one stone will be left here upon another, everything will be destroyed. But today's historians tell us that a whole wall remained from this temple, the so-called Wailing Wall. Then who do you believe more, Jesus or the historians? After all, according to the scriptures, not even 2 stones remained from the temple so that there would be one stone upon another. And therefore it is 100% clear that the Wailing Wall is not the wall of the temple that was during the time of Jesus Christ. I remember in the Old Testament, when Elijah, having fortified himself with angelic bread, walked for 40 days and 40 nights to the mountain of God Horeb from the borders of Beersheba. Here it is not so difficult to calculate how much a person can walk in a day of continuous walking. Google Maps shows 96 hours of walking or 418 kilometers, which is exactly 4 days. And where did Elijah walk the remaining 36 days? We understand that Elijah did not walk in circles around that mountain. The scales on the map of Palestinian Israel do not match. I think that it is worth stopping here and simply admitting the fact that the territory of modern Palestine, where they say that ancient Israel is located, does not fit the description in the Bible at all, and all we need now is to find the real territory of Canaanite Israel on the world map. Now we have access to the internet, to the world map. We can weigh everything and put it on our scales, study the boundaries in the scriptures, the bordering seas, rivers and mountains, and find the real Israel on the map. And such a person who has already done this, and with whom I almost completely agree, is Alexei Krustalov. Those who want can type his name on YouTube. So, where do you think the most blessed land is? This is the place where many people live and the land there is valuable. And let's also take the fact that the Jews were shepherds of flocks of sheep and loved vineyards, which means that they need to look for large pastures. Let's not forget the fact that the snow on Mount Carmel will never melt and that the journey from Egypt to Canaan must have been about 40 days of walking with overnight stays and breaks. Let's open a map of densely populated lands and look north of Egypt, the largest population in Europe, in particular France. There is snow on the mountains, and pastures, and bees, and vineyards, and trees, and rain, and rivers. And if we take the fact that the Strait of Gibraltar has a natural underwater bridge and that this was the place where Moses crossed the sea, where the waters parted, then everything coincides. Let's open an ancient map of Europe and find that the ancient name of a large part of Europe is Gallia, which is consonant with the word Galilee. So, the real territory of Israel is located on the territory of Europe, mainly this is modern France and parts of other European countries. Jerusalem is the territory of Paris. Everything fits together here, even the ancient names of Jewish cities have remained almost unchanged. Look at my map in more detail, I wrote some cities of real Israel there. The Jews did not leave Egypt through the Red Sea, but went north to the Strait of Gibraltar, which has a kind of underwater bridge, and at a time when there was less water on earth, on this bridge. When the waters parted, it was possible to cross from Egypt to Spain without much steepness. It is in Spain on the territory of the modern Spanish semi-desert, there look for God's mountain, on which the 10 Commandments were given, for this is the semi-desert along which the people of Israel walked. So the Jordan River is the Rhone River, and it is really full-flowing. It was this that the sons of Israel crossed when they captured Jericho. There is also a city of Nazareth, called San Nazar. There are two Canas, Cana of Galilee and another Cana. There is also Bethsaida and the Sea of Galilee with its great steepness and great storms, which cannot be said about the Palestinian Sea of Galilee. This land is truly blessed. We all know about Swiss cheeses, French wines, beekeeping, breathtaking mountains and vast pastures in Europe, which completely coincide with the biblical description of Israel. And the animals, and fossils, and the climate, and the never-melting snow on Mount Carmel, all this is located there. And the remains of many biblical characters and their graves, in particular Pontius Pilate and his relatives, as well as the bones of Lazarus, the head of John the Baptist. The remains of the cross of Christ and the spear with which he was pierced. And the writing was also similar to Hebrew. And when the Jews were dispersed after the destruction of the temple, by the way, in Paris there is still a street named Temple Street, they fled near European countries. That is why we are many Jews in the Baltic countries and in Ukraine and Russia. So those who look at Israel as that fig tree about which Jesus Christ said, "Take a similitude from the olive tree," should look at the real Israel, that is, France and Paris, as Jerusalem. Paris has the root of its name in the word Pharisee, that is, the holy city. When France is renamed Israel and Paris is renamed Jerusalem, then perhaps expect the construction of the third temple in its place in Paris on Temple Street, and not somewhere in Palestine. And from this time on, count the last generation of Israel, and not from 1948, when Stalin and the entire world elite led you astray. But I understand perfectly well that this will never happen. Since the history of Israel has already ended, in the words of the true Messiah Jesus Christ, it is finished. So you see how much we are deceived. Do not think that the truth is served to us easily and simply on a silver platter. To find the truth, you need to dig, you need to delve into the scriptures and sincerely understand for yourself. So do not be mistaken, and do not look towards Palestine, and do not expect that a third temple will be built in that arid desert. Even if something is built, it will not be that temple of God, but another attempt at error. Because that land is not the land chosen by God. The remnants of real intelligent Jews understand this perfectly well, and therefore are in no hurry to move to Palestine, but live for the most part in France. Thanks be to our Lord that He opens the eyes of those who seek and call upon Him so that they will not be mistaken. Glory to Him for everything forever. Amen.